This show is for educational purpose and should not be taken as medical advice. Welcome to Let's Talk About Medical Weed with Dr. O, a clinical pharmacist certified in medical cannabis. Every week, you'll learn about alternative ways to improve your health and well-being using the healing power of botanicals such as cannabinoids. Here's your host, Lola Ahanba.
Hi, thank you for joining me on the first episode of Let's Talk About Medical Weed with Dr. O. My name is Lola Ahamba. I am a clinical pharmacist. I'm also specialized in medical cannabis. This show was created to address the negative stigma surrounding cannabis and the cannabinoid product. Since the passage of the Farm Bill by the Congress, a lot of platform has been selling cannabinoid product, and there is so many misinformation out there about this botanical plant. So I created this show to help address some of those misinformation that is being spread around. So who is this show for? This show is for healthcare professionals that are looking for information to help their patient navigate the cannabis space and botanicals generally. There's so many platforms selling product. Patients, clients don't know where to turn. Healthcare professionals are so busy with a lot of regular information for the pharmaceutics, traditional pharmaceutics. So this show was created. It's a place where they can run to and know that the evidence, the information presented are evidence-based. The show is also for young professional, active young professional looking for alternative natural way to manage and to restore energy that is lost during their day-to-day grind, day-to-day activities. And finally, this show is for you if you are looking for alternative means to help manage your health and well-being. This will be a good show where you can get information to help with that. This is an educational show only. We do not claim that this cannabis or cannabinoid heal or cure. This is strictly for information and just to educate the public on the cannabis and the cannabinoid product. So today we will be discussing the history of cannabis and cannabinoid product through the ages, and we will also discuss the policy and the politics behind its prohibition. And finally, at the end of this show, I'm going to give you a little fun fact that you absolutely do not want to miss. So stick around. Let's do this together. I'm so glad you guys are here with me. Thank you so much for hanging around. Before we get into the details of today's show, allow me to tell you a little bit about myself, my experience with medicinal herbs growing up as a little girl in Africa. I was born in Africa, in Nigeria. And while I was a little girl growing up, then whenever we have fever or we are sick, whatever the issue is, my parents would go to the back of our house. We had a mango tree at the back of the house. So they would go and grab some of the leaves, some of the bark, and cook and make us drink this really, really nasty. It was very, very disgusting. We never like drinking this, but we have to. We are just kids, so we drink it. So fast forward to when I went to pharmacy school and began to learn about pharmaceutics, mechanism of actions of drugs, and their chemistry. It later makes sense to me what my parents and other parents back then were using was just the healing powers of botanicals. They were just tapping into the chemical compound that is found in all these botanicals to use it to their own benefit. I guess we can say they are pretty smart in what they do. Cannabis is a botanical plant just like ginger, garlic, orange, that has been used for many things for generation. Cannabis was used as oil for tincture oil. It was used as food by people. They used it back in the days to processed into fabrics that they made clothes out of. Cannabis was also used as a fiber for people. Cannabis oil is being found to be very low in saturated fat. Saturated fat is one of the main culprits that is seen in disease states like cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, and many cardiovascular diseases. So low saturated fat is very good for us because it does not clog our arteries or anything like that. According to historians, cannabis and cannabis oil was used as a vitamin tonic back in the days. It's just like now. We do eat food and we have all these nutrient elements from our food, but many of us still go ahead and supplement with multivitamins that we buy over the counter because it's not that our body is not producing its own vitamins, but sometimes we need to supplement what we already have, especially as we grow older. So it's just the same that what they did back in the days. They used cannabis as a supplement for their food. According to historian, Queen Victoria of England also used cannabis back in the days for menstrual pain. She used this product from cannabis, made from cannabis, to manage the pain due to menstrual pain. Jamaican women of the Rastafarian descendants were said to have used cannabis flower for management of pain due to childbirth. They used the cannabis for nausea and vomiting due to pregnancy. And some even said women cooked this cannabis and gave it to their children as tonic. And a lot of the children that were given this product were very, very healthy and they were very, very sharp in their thinking. So for me, as a mother of 3 boys, sometimes wonder how did the people of old, how did the women manage childbirth? So from literature, we find out that some of these women use the cannabis and cannabinoid product to help them. And it also helped them to forget about the pain that you go through during this childbirth, so that before you even blink your eyes, a lot of the women are back to their normal life. They are pregnant again with more babies. It's just amazing what this botanical plant can do. Cannabis was mentioned in the world's oldest pharmacopeia as far back as 2000 BC. In fact, it was removed from the U.S. pharmacopeia in 1941 after the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act of the 1937. So before its removal, it was used by the doctor's offices. Doctor's offices will compound this cannabis tincture and sell it to their patient for various ailments. It was also sold at pharmaceutical companies like the Eli Lilly back then also used compounded cannabis, cannabinoid, and sell it to their clients and customers. I guess we can give it to the big farmers. They are always going to be there. They are always going to be there where there is money-making opportunities. The big farmers are never going to let money pass. So back then, this product was used not just by regular folks. It was used by healthcare professionals of their time, and a lot of money was made. And one other thing that came to my mind when I was going through this research was, I guess cannabis must be the gold rush of their time, because it's like everybody want to get into it. Just like now, the situation we are seeing, every corner you turn, you see people selling CBD or hemp-derived products. It's like a gold rush of back then, and it's kind of becoming like a gold rush now. But there's so many misinformation, there's so many negative stigma, there's so many myths surrounding this product. So we really do need to look more into that. So the question that came to my mind when I saw that pharmaceutical companies back then and doctors' offices compounded cannabis, cannabinoid products and sold to their patient, the question that came to my mind was that what changed from back then when they were using this product as pharmaceutics to now where we get to where the drug, the cannabis and the cannabinoid products are being presented as the most dangerous products and no medical benefit. What came to my mind was that what changed actually is big pharmas. I think what changed is the politics of the day. The big corporations were worried about their bottom line. When there was a synthesis of aspirin and products like gabapentin, big pharma stepped in and felt like, oh, we have to do something. The first thing that changed is the politics of the day. The politics of the day, especially the politics coming from the big corporation, with the synthesis of products like aspirin, the evolution of pill form, dosage form. Cannabis has always been very challenging to dose. It's been very challenging to have a standard strength. The product is from different places, different product. We have the cannabis indica, cannabis sativa. They all have different composition. And it was very challenging for people to dose. So when there was a synthesis of product like aspirin, which back then the main uses of cannabis was for pain. When product like aspirin, gabapentin start coming up, people do not want to be bothered with this tedious way of dosing, not being sure whether you have the right amount or whether you are underdosing or overdosing. Then with the Marijuana Tax Act, it makes it so difficult for the doctor's offices to profit from the sales of compounded marijuana because they have to pay a heavy fine for selling this product. So with the evolution of modern day pill form and the politics of the day not in favor of cannabis and cannabinoid products, it was removed from the U.S. pharmacopeia. The removal of cannabis and cannabinoid products from the pharmacopeia has had a tremendous effect on the use of this botanical plant. A lot of lies and myths have been spread about the medical properties of the botanical plant, and with the prohibition of this cannabis and cannabinoid products, the classification into the Schedule 1 has had a tremendous effect on everything cannabis and cannabinoid. So cannabis right now is a Schedule 1 product, which means it does not have any medicinal properties at all. It's classified as one of the most dangerous drugs with no evidence of medicinal properties. It's also under the Class 1. These drugs have the potential for psychological dependence. A high abuse rate is what is associated with the Class 1. The drugs that are also in this class, heroin, cocaine, LSD, ecstasy. It just doesn't even make sense to me to say for cannabis to go from being used to treat almost everything you can mention on the planet to it being classified as the most dangerous drug on the planet. When drugs like OxyContin, oxycodone, fentanyl, even classified lower than cannabis on the classification table. And according to the CDC, there has never been anybody that overdosed on cannabis or cannabinoid product. So this is a botanical plant that has never killed nobody. Nobody has ever overdosed on it. And it's been classified as a class Schedule 1 drug, why drugs like fentanyl that has killed so many people have overdosed on it, are being classified as class 2. It just doesn't make sense to me. I personally think the power that be should take a second look at the classification of drugs and consider reclassifying cannabis in the lower class of the scheduled drugs. There are a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to me, because right now, as a pharmacist, we dispense cannabinoid products, synthetic single molecule cannabinoid products like Marinol, Dronabinol, Epidiolex for our most vulnerable patient. Cancer patient, they use Dronabinol, Marinol for nausea and vomiting due to cancer chemo. We dispense synthetic dronabinol for our HIV/AIDS patients to help manage weight loss due to HIV/AIDS. We also dispense Epidiolex for children to help with Dravet's syndrome, epilepsy, and seizure. These are some of the most vulnerable patients that we have in our society. So if we say cannabis is the most dangerous drug on the planet, why are we giving our patient, our most vulnerable patient, Dronabinol and Marinol, which are single molecule synthetic cannabinoid products? It doesn't make sense to me. When you look at a single molecule Marinol, Dronabinol products, they are not comparable to the whole spectrum botanical plants. Cannabis has over 600 other compounds like terpenes and phenols, essential oils, just to mention a few. And all these compounds, they all work together to give it its unique effect, just like other botanical plants. So when we try to synthesize this product in the labs, these are single molecules that have been synthesized in the lab. You don't really know which of the compounds that you found, whether it's the terpenes or whether it's the phenol or whether it's the essential oil that is found in the whole plant that is helping patients or helping people with whatever claim is claimed to help with. So it doesn't make sense to say, okay, we're going to give patient a single molecule that doesn't have the entourage effect that is seen in the whole plant and still classify the botanical plant as the most dangerous drug on the planet. I really do think they should take a second look at this classification, because there's a lot of potential patients or people that might benefit from the potential healing power of this plant. Evidence has shown that cannabis is less dangerous than alcohol, is less harmful compared to tobacco or cigarette, and is way, way less dangerous when you compare it to opioid medications like fentanyl, oxycodone, and oxycontin. So, and all these oxycodone, oxycontin, they are all classed in the lower class compared to cannabis. Cannabis in the class 1, schedule 1 drug. Oxycontin, oxycodone, those are in the schedule 2 drug. With the opioid epidemics and all this opioid crisis going on around us right now, it will be a very, very smart thing to do, to take a second look at the whole plant, the botanical plant itself. Because like I said earlier, cannabis is not just one molecule or one compound that is giving its unique properties. It's called entourage effect. The entourage effect is basically one chasing, like the biblical word, one will chase 1,000, two will chase 10,000. Imagine what 600 will chase. If we have one chasing 1,000, two is chasing 10,000, how much can the cannabis that has over 600 compounds in it, how much would that be able to do for us, for our society, for our people? So a second look needs to be considered and reclassification needs to be looked into, especially, like I said, with the opioid crisis and the epidemic in our society. I remember I told you I was going to give you a fun fact earlier on the show. Anyway, that is, do you know that CBD and CBD is a cannabidiol, and THC, that is tetrahydrocannabinol. Those are the main compounds found in the cannabis plant. Do you know that these two compounds, they are odorless? I know people will be like, what do you mean CBD and THC is odorless? Yeah, CBD and THC, they are very odorless. They do not have smell. So I'm sure somebody will say, so where does that smell, that strong smell that we hear from marijuana, from weed, where does that come from? That smell is from terpenes. Terpenes, an aromatic compound found in the cannabinoid product. It's not just found in cannabinoid product. It's also found in all botanical, like orange. Your lavender is a form of terpene. Ginger, the smell of ginger is coming from terpene. All botanicals, they all have terpene. And these are part of what the plant is using. Some of these characteristics that we see in this plant, in botanicals, they are actually used for the management of their, it's more of a defense mechanism for them. And basically what I believe is that the nature already give us everything we need to live a healthy life. So we only need to look around us, tap into nature to be able to take advantage of what is already given unto us by our Maker to use. Again, thank you so much for listening on our first episode of this show. Please subscribe to the show so we can keep this show going. And if you have any information or anything you would like us to address or question or concern, you can visit our website to leave us a comment if you have questions on wci-health.com. On wci-health.com, you can leave us a comment. But please subscribe to this show so we can keep it moving. If you also have a suggestion on how we can improve on this show, do not hesitate to give it to us. Thank you so much. And until next time, always remember, health is equal to wealth.
Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or any podcast platform. For more information, visit our website at www.wci-health.com. Until next time, health equals wealth.